Greetings, everyone. Special edition of Threading the Needle. Today, we're going to just quickly talk about the fantastic new schedule that has everyone in the SEC and all the teams and fans excited. I'm just going to lead off that I think this schedule has Georgia, Florida in peril after when the contract comes back up in 2023, as Georgia will be having to fly 5 times in 8 weeks. Nobody else is having to fly 5 times. It's 4, and unfortunately, it's because of Georgia, Florida. Being from St. Simons, I'm always going to politic to keep that game, but that is something to watch. Like I said, the 2-year option comes up May 15th, 2022. So they are signed on through 2023. That's just my quick take that the road dogs early it will be a challenge.
Yeah, I was going to say when I looked at that schedule and having Auburn that second game is kind of a little bit of concern. I mean, it's your rival program. We're getting a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator, and just wondering if we're going to have everything clicking by then. But on the other side of that, Auburn lost a lot of talent on both lines, so maybe catching them early, maybe it's a little easier for us because they're going to be having to put in a bunch of new players. But that big game early is flipped from all the way being in November right in the middle of the season is kind of like nerve wracking. But I'm excited, and we get Auburn right, second game of the season.
That 3-game stretch at the beginning, starting with the second game at Auburn, as you mentioned, Josh, is going to be tough. That stretch is. You got Auburn, Tennessee, and Alabama. Of course, everybody's been waiting for the Alabama game and nervous about that. But you've got Auburn and Tennessee the 2 weeks preceding. Georgia's had Auburn's number, and it's going to be in Athens. But, that one's always tough. And then you got Tennessee after that in Knoxville. And Pruitt's looking for a signature win. He'll probably have them ready. So that's going to be a tough stretch.
Yeah, Cade Mays won't be there, but hopefully our offensive line will be there. But no, and right on the heels of that Kentucky game looks dangerous to me. It's coming in off murderer's row of those big games you just talked about, and it's got the open week before the Gators. And that Kentucky team is returning a lot of players, and they will be hungry, and that game should concern us. Right after Alabama. But, maybe if Alabama gets us this year, maybe that turns that focus to that SEC East opponent. But, that Kentucky game is in a prime spot for a trap game, in my opinion.
Well, just to set the record straight, Greg, I think the Vols are at home.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah. So, otherwise, we'd be on the road six times in 8 weeks.
You're right.
And Josh, to what you say, I agree completely with the Kentucky game, but for the fans, even though you don't probably going to be able to go to the game, maybe you will, Keeneland, the final week of Keeneland, and I checked last night, they're advertising the track being open. For any Georgia fans that have never done that, that's one of the most beautiful experiences you'll ever have. So I'm excited about that. I've already got a hotel room, in fact.
Nice.
And then I guess the last thing I'd like to do is last night, Herb Street, he said he was maybe leaning for the Gators, but he said their schedule was just brutal, talking about them having to play A&M and LSU in their early gauntlet. But, I mean, can't we counter that Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama? I think Herb Street might not be right there. And then when you look at the second half of the season, both teams have an easier run, but it's not that easy for Georgia in the second half either. What do y'all think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say about this, the end of the season with Missouri, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Vandy. Everybody has kind of overlooked that run at the end of the season because of the tough 3 games toward the beginning of the season, but those games, there could definitely be a trap game amongst those if South Carolina is there for one, although I think after last year, Georgia will be ready when they go to Columbia for that game. But Missouri, even though they've got some problems, they got a new coach, they're going to be ready. That's a long trip, like the Arkansas trip. then you got Mississippi State and Leach coming to Athens. If he's got his offense going with those players, that again could be another tough game for the Dogs this fall.
Well, it's going to be interesting at the end of the season as teams are, a good number of those teams might be eliminated from contention. If there's no bowl game, is this going to look like the NFL where you got guys playing out the string, or some players maybe have already just said, I'm done, depending on the safety concerns? It's just the season, especially at the end, could look completely different than the end of any other season that we've ever seen. I mean, I saw Peter Burns on ESPN just looking at the schedule as a whole, was super excited about it, but it looks like an NFL schedule. It's like, okay, these are your division opponents, maybe, you've got something locked up, you're in Atlanta. What's the point of risking some of those injuries now? I just think that end of that season is going to be wild. It's going to be exciting. And yeah, I mean, it could be totally wide open. And yeah, Leach at the end of the year is a reason to be concerned.
And guys, I'll just end with that. When there is a college football czar, I think our man Sankey will have a job from the SEC. He has handled this impeccably, in my opinion. He's kept college football alive, and we're able to do a show like this today, talking about the season. Yes, lots that has to go right, but at least we're getting to this point in it, and it has a lot to do with his leadership. We'll be back with more of these in the future because football has arrived. Thanks so much, and see you next time.